This video shows you how to perform multiplication and division on a navigation computer. Let's look at a couple of things before we get started. Firstly, the front side of the Jeppesen and the APR navigation computers is basically a circular slide rule, such as what used to be used prior to the introduction of calculators. The front side of the navigation computer allows you to perform numerous calculations, including conversions that are shown on the scales. However, you can perform basic multiplication and division as well. The first thing to identify is that the numbers on each of these scales can be multiples of 10. For example, the number 80 could be an 80, but it could also be 8, or 0.8, or 0.008, or 800, or 8,000, and so on. That means we need to have some idea of the scale of the answer when we perform the calculation so that we know where to put the decimal point. Let's look at multiplication first. Think of the 10 on the inner scale as being a multiplication sign. The worked example that we're going to use here is going to be 5 multiplied by 3. The first number in any multiplication is called the multiplicand, and the second number is called the multiplier. The first step is to place the multiplicand, which is number 5, over the multiplication sign. So we're going to spin this wheel around so that the number 5 or 50 is above the 10. Now we need to find the multiplier, which is 3 or 30 on the inner scale, and our answer is immediately above that, which is 15 or 1.5. We need to have an idea of the scale. As I mentioned before, 5 times 3 in our head we know is going to be less than 100 and more than 1, and so we know the answer is going to be 15. Let's have a look at another example. The worked example this time is 21.5 multiplied by 4.7. So we put the multiplicand of 21.5, which is on the outer scale, over the 10 marker on the inside. So we rotate the outer wheel until that is above the 10. We now find the multiplier of 4.7 on the inner scale, and we read our answer above that on the outer scale. And if you look carefully, you'll see it's a little bit more than 10. It's just past the first division, so that would be 10.1. Once again, we have to identify the approximate size of the number. So I thought to myself, that's 20 times 5, so I know that's going to be around about 100. And so my answer of 10.1 is going to be 101. Or if you look very carefully, you'll see it's just past that 101. So you might say that's about 101.1 or something similar to that. Let's now have a look at the division process. This is basically the opposite to the multiplication process. The worked example is going to be 8 divided by 2. The first number in division is called the dividend, and the second number is called the divisor. So we place the dividend of 8 on the outer scale over the divisor of 2 on the inner scale by rotating this outer wheel, and so that the 8 is over the 2. Our answer is going to be above the 10, and so we can see that that's going to be 4. We think about the size, 8 divided by 2, that's going to be less than 10, and so we know that it's going to be 4, not 400 or 40 or something like that. Here's our second example. We'll use a worked example of 8.43 divided by 67.4. Once again, we find the 8.43 on the outer scale, so that's going to be 84.3. And now we rotate that around above the 67.4. I have rotated this cursor around so that the cursor is aligned up with the 67.4 there. And let's rotate the wheel around so 84.3 is above that point. And we can see that there now. So we read our answer above the 10, which is 12.5. So we now need to determine the scale of this number, where the decimal point is going to fall. And so I round it to 8 divided by 60, so I know it's less than 1. And it's not that small. And so I work out that my answer is going to be something close to 0.15. So we round that number and it becomes 0.125. So who needs a calculator anyway? The navigation computer doesn't even get flat batteries.